So this is obviously Jesus at the well with the Samaritan woman. Something people need to understand so that you can understand why man has kept us under their kingdom. And it's really sad because let's put this way, you get the left craziness that's gone on, and then the right thinks the way to combat this. And I'm saying this to the Trump administration as well, in case they don't understand this fact. See, God can influence things any way he wants. So he can influence to stop things. Why didn't he stop that craziness? Well, it's simple. It's because the right's craziness with believing that women are below men, he was tired of. See, you have to be aligned with him. And clearly what's been shown over the last few the last year with the Christian nationalist men, the turning point, Charlie Kirk, is that they believe women are to submit to man. No, so Jesus will come against all of you for this. I've said it before, as God is my witness, he will. He came up against Charlie Kirk for it. So, and other things. Because again, he told man, again, man got the worst punishment after the original sin. The serpent didn't even get a punishment close to what Adam got. All right? But God never told Adam to rule over woman. But because he exercised his free will in that way and did that, that's why God said, you will curse the earth. God also said that what God said, you cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you. Just remember that. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you. So what you have to know is that, Jewish rabbis did not speak to even their wives or daughters in public because they weren't spiritually, equal. They weren't spiritually anything. If they were going to be allowed, it was usually only the elites that would allow the teaching of the spiritual stuff to their, children, if they were elite. There was also a Cold War between the Jews and the Samaritans over identity. Yeah, so God, that's the piece God's been trying to deal with for 7,000 years, is the ego, and because of the identity. The identities come as a result of the ego. It's Satan's number one tool to use in this world, is ego. So there was a Cold War between Jews and Samaritan over identity and the correct place to worship. Jews always traveled around Samaria because they saw all of Samaria as defilement. Well, Jesus walked right through it. But there's, and there's a lot of examples of that, okay? But this was especially complicated that he would talk to her because, she had been married 5 times and even in her own community was seen as an outcast because of that. Yet, for Jesus to talk to her at all was like, even the apostles were like, what are you doing? Because it's not just that women were below the man. It was like that they were stupid. They're foolish to even try to teach anything to. That's how bad it was. So Jesus was given the bird to the Roman Empire and the Jewish elite, the Jewish elders, with everything he did, most especially with women. So even though Paul went on to say, women submit to your husband, and Peter, God, just so the Christian nationalists, if they hear this at all, but they won't hear. And it's probably the way God wants it, he'll come up against them. But he's going to use that as a stumbling block. Just like Jesus was a stumbling block for the Jews, because in their text it says that any man hung from a tree is cursed. Yeah, that ended up being a stumbling block, their book, the text, okay? So what Peter or what Paul wrote about submitting, that will be used against. Because what it shows God, you didn't, and shows the world is none of you know God. So somebody should let Pete Hegseth know that too, since he believes women shouldn't have the right to vote. Anyway, and if the Trumps think that, and I don't know if they do, I assume they don't, okay? I mean, I would hope they don't, because then none of them know God either. Okay, they just don't. But Trump, I always try to leave out of that because you never know what angle he's using, what angle where he's coming, because you never know. I never know what he's doing, really. I never understand it a lot of the times. So this was very important. So when Jesus, flipped the tables in the temple, he was flipping everything. He was flipping the whole system. But what it meant, again, and women understood it, was surrender your will to me. That's the reason why he, went to women so much with the biggest items. This was huge for him to talk to a woman at all, but then to tell her that he's the Messiah. And then Mary Magdalene being the first that he talked to when he was resurrected and she had to go back. Those are big deals. But as you can see what happened, from the church on, they wanted their patriarch system. He came to destroy it. Now, the Pete Hegseth, the far right radical stupid people like Turning Point, Charlie, all of them, okay, they think the answer to the radical left is to, we need the nuclear family, that women need to submit, this is how we have to have order. No, God allowed that to happen because of you stupid men on the right. He did. At the end of the day, all of it, all this sexual identity bullshit is all, it's all because of people, having that human ache and longing for God. The problem is that we continue to, the left wants to create their socialist kingdom, utopia. The right thinks they're going to create their godly kingdom, and none of you are. And God will come up against both of you, both sides. He will. He's eventually going to come up against you because of the fact that you are the people that are ruining everything. You're all having, whether it's Turning Point USA and wearing their crowns, or it's LGB 5689 and they have their crowns. Everybody wearing their crown of it's about that they know best. Or it's the Republicans, state, federal, it doesn't matter. Everybody thinking they know best. Or the Democrats. None of these people knowing best at all. None of them. But all wearing crowns as if they are in some position to know what's best. And none of them, from the politicians to these factions, know anything. And Jesus knew when he came here, that's what he was dealing with, even though not everybody was wearing a literal crown. They were in the sense of it was all about me. It's all about self. It's all about my identities. And really they're all trying to fill their identities with whatever it is, okay? And wanting the whole world to affirm and accept and validate them because you're trying to fill this hole that you can't. So you can run around and pretend like it's all natural, but ultimately he came to fill the hole, okay? He did. You don't have to accept that, but he did. So, but ultimately he knew that everybody was going to continue to wear their crown. The only way you stop wearing your crown and it being all about you is that you fully surrender your self-will, because the self-will is what got you thrown out of the garden. So you should stop using it. But man hasn't wanted to. Jesus knew it would happen. And then you have this crown. I mean, all of them. I mean, the only person that never wore a crown and the only person that was entitled to one was Jesus, although this world did give him one that he didn't ask for. Thorns and thistles. He told Adam, you would curse the land. So man today continues to do so. They can say, no, we've set up the kingdom, God inspired this, right, but God, you've still never surrendered. You have still never surrendered. You have not figured it out. So I know people won't hear it, but I'm saying it. Do God's will. Yeah, so again, God told Adam, you will cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorn and thistles it shall bring forth for you. And what did you do with those thorns and thistles? You crowned the Creator with it. See, women had no hand whatsoever in Jesus's execution, but man did, from many sects. So get it together.